Yes, it's she, the divine mother, she who made the universe. Yes, it's she, the divine mother, ruler of every heart desire. Love more ancient, bliss eternal, may our hearts soon be merged in thee. Yes, is she, the divine mother, she who made the universe. Yes, is she, the divine mother, ruler of every heart desire. Love more ancient, bliss eternal, may our hearts soon be merged in thee. Love more ancient, bliss eternal, may our hearts soon be merged in thee.
When we were in Mumbai this last year, while Swami was touring India, we were driving down to Mumbai from Pune, and Swami suddenly, this song came to Swami. The song is originally a French opera, and so the music is from that opera. Swami just wrote these new words. And in the early years, back in the first community Swami started in Ananda village in California, Swami would play this particular duet from this opera during the 8-hour Christmas meditations. And so while we were driving, Swami suddenly said, "Oh, there's this opera and I would really love to hear it again. I've not heard it for a long time." And so when we reached Mumbai, went on the internet, went to YouTube, put the opera's name in there, and of course it came out, and we played it for Swami, and Swami was just tears of joy and bliss just coming down just his eyes as he was listening to this song. And he said, "So beautiful." He says, "But it needs better words." And so there was a little notepad, and he just scribbled these words. I mean, just like that. Nothing, no thought, how would it rhyme, what would it do? Just, it just came to him. And so it's a beautiful song. And it's originally between two men sing this song originally, and so Swami had thought that it would be fun if he and I have this opportunity to sing it. And of course it was my blessing. And so when he asked me, "Shurjo, would you like to sing this song with me?" Of course I was so excited, but I was so nervous at the same time. Like, oh my God, what will Swami say? Will I be able to learn it? And so two things really I learned during that experience. One was how Swami related to people. When he first decided that he's going to have sing this song with me, he said, "Come, let's learn this song." And what he did was he assumed, not just assumed, he saw me as in my highest potential, as if I too am a composer just like him. So he said, "Okay, you see these notes? Okay, let's start." I said, "Oh, wait a minute, Swami, I don't know how to read music." He's like, "Oh, you don't? Oh, okay." And then he says, "Okay, it goes this way. Na 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 na." He said, "Okay, let's start." I said, "Wait, Swami, So what he was doing, and he did this with everyone all the time, he always saw us at what is our highest potential, where are we truly, but then he says, "Oh, you're not here yet? That's all right. Let me come down a little for you. Oh, you're not even here yet? That's all right." Rather than saying, "Oh, where are you? Let me lift you up." He never pushed. He magnetized. He saw you at your highest, and you yourself were pulled. And I never learned the song while he taught it to me, while he was in the body, but when he left the body, it just came. I was able to really just immediately learn this song, and it really taught me that physical presence, or having him sit next to me and teach me this song, is not worth that much as attunement. And only after Swami left his body was I able to say, I really would like to sing this song for Swami's birthday as a gift to him. And when I put myself in that attunement, I was able to just immediately just channel Swami himself and say, oh, that's how he wanted me to sing it. Most of you had the opportunity and the blessing to see Swami in that hall once, and some of you, maybe you didn't have it. But as I was saying, it doesn't matter as much how much his physical presence we were able to be in, because Swami never was in that body. He was never limited to that body, and now all the more he isn't limited to that body. He is everywhere. When I first met Swami, it was under a little unusual circumstances. I was living at the community in Pune for around 6 months. I was part of Ananda for 6 months, and Swami wasn't in India when I joined Ananda. He was in the communities in America, in Italy, and so he came back, and we had just built his house. We'd just finished building his house. We'd just finished building a few of the little houses at the community, and Swami was eager to move in, even though we were like, Swami, many things are not ready, the house still has problems. But he was like, no, we have to move to the community, we have to magnetize it, it doesn't matter, I want to move. So we said fine, and I was looking after the maintenance in those days. And the first day Swami was there, the next morning I get a call from our spiritual directors, and he said, come quickly, something's happened in Swami's house. And I hadn't met Swami personally. I had seen him once, but I never had any personal interaction with him until then. And so, of course, I was super nervous, and I went up to Swami in his office, and there Swami was sitting. And what had happened, the water from the AC had leaked and had come on his laptop. And so the whole laptop, and he had been working on a book, and so the whole laptop was off. And so Swami looks at me, and he's just smiling, and first I thought, oh, maybe nothing has happened. Then he's like, oh, my laptop, it's not working, and I think I've lost all my work, and can you fix it? I was like, I don't know, Swami, I'm going to try to look into it. And of course I couldn't, and I was feeling so disappointed that I probably let Swami down. But he was just so happy. It didn't matter to him, oh, I've lost my laptop, oh, all this has happened, oh, what's wrong with this house, you should have done something before. He was just so happy. He's like, oh, it doesn't matter, we'll fix it, we'll get everything back, it doesn't matter. He was never like, doesn't matter what's happening on the outside, I live in the bliss that's within me. And that was the first thing that really struck me in Swami Kriyananda, was that he was just so blissful and so joyful all the time. And he just bought a little box, and he just gave me this little box. He says, here, this is for you. And I felt, wow, Swami probably likes me a lot, and that's why he's giving me, you create all these little things in your mind, try to make every relationship, every encounter very personal. But Swami was never like that. He was just so impersonal, but so unconditionally loving, and that made you feel so special. When we were a month before Swami passed away in Italy, another gentleman, a member of our community, a long-time member of one of our communities, had come to Swami's house to fix a little thing. And Swami, just as he was leaving, Swami said, do you need a computer, a laptop? And he says, well, Swami, I don't have one. Swami says, oh, why don't you just take mine? And initially the thought came to me, as the ego always does. I said, why didn't Swami offer it to me? I've been there, I should be normally Swami's first choice. But for Swami, none of that ever mattered. For him, he saw the need, he knew that particular man probably would like one or didn't have one, and he was just happy to offer anything he had. He always just wanted to give. During Swami's, I just wanted to mention Swami's last few days, just to let you know how such an inspiring moment that was, and truly an important moment for a lot of us, and more so for me, because while trying to work with Swami in his physical body, sometimes we start saying, oh, this is Swami Kriyananda, and he likes to eat this and he needs this and this in the morning and his body is weak and I need to take care of it. But in his last few weeks, as of course we didn't know, Swami was going to leave his body, but Swami was withdrawing ever more from the outward, and more he was very silent, very inward. Normally he always interacted a lot with us. We would just be sitting over there having tea, and Swami was always telling about how his time with Yogananda was, or some fun story, because Swami was just a wonderful conversationalist. Any topic he could just expand upon. But more and more, every time we sat together, we'd just be silent, and so we could see that Swami was just withdrawing. And we of course understood that Swami's tired and he's had a long life, and now he wanted more and more to go into seclusion here in India. And so we thought this is just a natural step for Swami. He's withdrawing his energy, that's understandable. But now that we see it in retrospect, you could really see Swami was kind of having this conversation with Yogananda, because for Swami his life was all about service to his Guru. That was his, those were the two things that Swami ever thought of, and any interaction we had with Swami always stressed those 2 points. 1, how can I serve my Guru? 2, how can I serve others also to reach the same goal that I'm trying to reach of self-realization. But more and more during these last days, you could feel that Swami was having this inward conversation with Yogananda, saying, what do you want from me now? Now my body is not cooperating with me anymore as much as I would like it to. I can't serve you outwardly as I always did. What would you like me to do? And Swami had a reading with a Bhrigu Pandit a year or so back, and that Pandit had said to him, and another one before that had said to him, that he would live to be 91. And Swami was approaching the age of 87, and Swami said, I can't see myself living to be 91 because already this body is giving up. So he says, if I'm not of service to my Guru, my life doesn't have meaning anymore. And that particular morning when Swami finally left his body, it was again one of those little sweet gifts from Divine Mother. Normally, on any particular morning, I would have been at our community temple in Assisi in Italy, meditating. They have their meditations from 6:30 to 8:30, like you have them over here. But in a strong decision of being lazy, I had decided that on Sunday I will not go for meditation. I will sleep longer. And it just so happened that Swami left his body on a Sunday, and had it been any other day, I wouldn't have been there. I would have been 2 kilometers away from the house, meditating in a temple. So just now that you think of it, these are these little sweet moments that Divine Mother offers us, and it happens to all of us. In everybody's life, we find these sweet coincidences. And around 7:30 in the morning, as I said, I was in my bed, and I hear a shout, and they say, Shurjo! And I get up and I come running up. We lived downstairs, Swami was upstairs. Came running up, and Naryani around 6:30, she always went to Swami. They would meditate together. Then Swami would start his day around 7 o'clock, have his breakfast. And as it happened that morning, Naryani went up to Swami's house, to Swami's room, and she saw that Swami was lying on his bed, and she saw that the candle in his meditation room was lit, which meant that he had already woken up in the morning, already finished his meditation, and then decided just to lie down for a while, which is unusual because Swami usually has a very regular rhythm for each morning. And so, but of course she didn't think much of it at that moment. And the Swami got up when Naryani went there, and he went to check his emails. That was his first thing he always did, to see has anybody written to him for any advice, any help. That was always his first duty in the morning, to see how can I help someone else. And he saw he didn't have any particular email he needed to respond to. He came down and sat down for breakfast. And Swamiji's cook asked him what he'd like, and Swami didn't respond. He wasn't responding as much to most people. And Narayani noticed that as well. And every movement that he was making, she saw that it was a very deliberate movement, a very as though the body itself was starting to lose its reality, as though he was already withdrawing much further away from this body. And then around 7:30, his nurse came to check his blood glucose. Swami had diabetes, apart from many other health issues, and so every morning his nurse would come, just make sure he's doing well. And she also realized that Swami was really not paying attention to her, and his eyes were already as though he was far away. And when she asked Swami, can I check your blood glucose, Swami just said, anything. And those were his last words, anything, just how he lived his life always. Whatever came from his guru, he accepted, just anything. And then suddenly both of them, Narayani and Miriam, who is his nurse, just saw that Swami started tensing up as though a wave was rising up his body. It said in the scriptures, when the soul exits the body, it goes up the spine, and if you reach enlightenment, it exits through the Sahasrara chakra, otherwise it may exit through the ego. And so they saw this wave of body, and Swami's body was just kind of crumpling up, as it went up, and just contorting, tensing his entire body. And as it reached up, he just relaxed, and that was, his heart stopped, his breath stopped, and that's when he just exited the body for the first time. And that's when they shouted and said, "Shurjo, come!" I ran up, and we thought, oh my God, let's get him into the car, let's take him to a hospital. But Swami had mentioned to most of us, and especially to his nurse, that if it seems that I'm ready to leave my body, I don't want you to go to heroic efforts to try to save me or take me to the hospital and they'll start plugging me with, and so he didn't want any of that. So we were just so torn, because we wanted to get him and we want to save him and we want to do this. But we also knew that he would appreciate us to just allow him if that's his time. But we weren't ready. But we still said, fine, let's call the spiritual directors of Assis for the community. And we sent Jedhara, Swami's cook. He went to the temple in the community, tried to call the directors over. We moved Swami's body from the dining room, and his body was already lifeless. He was sitting on the chair. So rather than lifting up, we just moved all the carpets. We dragged his body across. We lay him on the bed. And all this while, Narayani and Miriam were just saying, "Swami, breathe! Swami, breathe!" And I went to Swami's right ear and I started chanting, Om, Om. It is said that when a soul exits the body, the hearing is the last sense that leaves. And especially in the right ear, it is said that if you say something, sometimes the soul comes back, or at least hears what you're saying. And so again, in our little attempts to try to see if Swami decides to come back, we just were trying everything. And then finally Narayani said, "Swami, breathe!" And suddenly Swami took like a deep breath, and we were all like, oh, maybe Swami's coming back. We were just so excited. And but then again, he just took one or two more breaths and it exited. And this happened once or twice. Every time they would say, "Swami, breathe," he would take a deep breath, then another one or two breaths, and he would again leave the body. And somehow you could feel like there was this, even within Swami, there was this one side of him which saying, "I'm merging into the infinite," but then there's this other side of him, of his children, of his disciples, kind of saying, "Swami, come back to us, come back to us." And you could see that, that was his love. That's the love of any saint. For him, merging into the infinite, of course, that's what he's been going for all his life. He's been moving towards that, but he always has that love for us, for those who aren't there yet. And so we could see that little fight within himself, and I'm glad that he chose wisely and he decided finally. That was happened on the third time. He took another deep breath, but this time as he exhaled, his whole body just became rigid, and we really just felt. When he first left the body, there was just something within us which wasn't, no, it couldn't be. But this time as he exited, the spiritual directors were already in the room, and as he left the body, we all just felt that this is it. And then we didn't try to do anything else, because at that moment, you could feel Swami's soul merging into the infinite. You could feel that power. It had filled that room, and nobody could do anything. And I was trying to continue the Om, but even those were just breaking apart because I couldn't do it anymore. And we just took a step back from Swami's body. We just sat down over there and we started meditating, or trying to meditate, because we were all crying. But that meditation, that moment, it was so powerful. It was just, you could feel that bliss that Swami had now merged into. You could feel the power of God as Swami kind of opened that door slightly to slip through. And as we sat there maybe for 20-25 minutes, then we said, we should let everyone know. And slowly people from the community started coming to Swami's house, and then we realized that Swami's house is not big enough to have people come, so we said, let's move Swami's body to the temple in Assisi. They have a beautiful, huge temple. And so we made preparations. Some of the women, Narayani, the spiritual director, Kirtani, they cleaned Swami's body, they put on his Naya Swami robes, and we moved Swami to the temple so that everybody had the opportunity, as Narayani said, to touch him, to say their last, have that last meeting with him, and just meditate with him, more importantly, to feel that as we felt. And that week that followed, and Dharmarajan and Dharmini were there, and I'm sure they must have mentioned to you about it, but it was just such a powerful week while Swami's body was there. We of course had Jyotish, who's Swami's spiritual successor, Jyotish and Devi. They came, and all the leaders from all our communities started gathering. So not only their presence, which in its own uplifts all of us, but just that atmosphere of freedom was just so palpable, so you could just cut it with a knife. And it wasn't just us who were feeling it. That was really what surprised me a lot. Swami's life has touched so many people in so many different ways. Of course, we are devotees, we are disciples, we have that reverence, but we had people coming from nearby towns, a shopkeeper who Swami once met, a man who runs a bar somewhere. Everybody felt that something big has happened. That this man, who they didn't know who he was. I mean, Italy is such a Catholic country. It's very strong in its, in Christianity, that they are not always very open to what we were doing. But everybody felt that something great has happened. A great soul has left the body, and there were posters all over the nearby towns that Swami Kriyananda has left his body, and many people just started coming, and they were all sitting in our temple closing their eyes, because that's what we were doing, and so they thought we should also just come and do that. They didn't know what it means to meditate, they didn't know what we're doing, but they all just felt that inward understanding that something big is happening here. And very interestingly, there was a man who was a gardener, who again has nothing to do with Ananda, and he, from our temple, while Swami's body was there, in the middle of day, so it was just the sun was shining, he saw like a shaft of light just going up from this temple, just up into the sky. And he was like, wow, what kind of celebrations are going on? He thought we have some sort of spotlights or something. And he went and asked one of our members, and of course the member couldn't see it, but this man could clearly. He says, no, look at that light that's going up. And another lady, who again wasn't a member, but who was a sister of one of our members, happened to be there, and she asked her sister later on, she said, oh, who was that man who was standing next to Swami's body, a young man? So the sister was like, which man? And then finally she saw the master, and she said, oh, that man, Babaji. And so it was just amazing. That whole week you could just feel that energy, you could feel all the masters there welcoming Swamiji home, saying, oh, it's done, your work here is done, welcome back. And that's how Swami's life affected not only us, but everyone, you could see everyone in the surrounding towns, in the surrounding villages, just felt uplifted somehow. Wherever we went, people would greet us and say, oh, we heard about this, and we give our condolences. And that's what Swami's life did to everyone. When we were in India, Swami would just go into various shops, and just random shops. He said, oh, let's go over here. And we said, but Swami, there's nothing here. And he would just go and sit down with the shopkeeper and start chatting with the shopkeeper as though the shopkeeper was his best friend. And we never quite understood what Swami was doing. And one particular incident, which wasn't for the shopkeeper but for some of us and for all of us, really a great lesson, that Swami went into a shop in a hotel. And this hotel was in Pune, and we went to that hotel often because every time Swami went touring, we had to stop and give him a day's rest because his body couldn't take all that travel so much. Our community is almost 2 hours from the Pune airport, so we would always have him stop, rest, and every day we would either go towards the community, or if we're leaving the community, we'd go to the next city. So we must have gone through that hotel at least 10, 12 times during this last Swami's visit. And so there was a little shop over there, and in the shop, the Swami said, oh, let's go see this shop. It was a Kashmiri shop. Swami always loved because they have beautiful colors, lot of astrological stones. So Swami went into this shop and sat down with this man, and again in his usual style said, oh, look at this sapphire this man gave him, and he would just start telling the story of how he got these stones just so openly. But this man, he was really very, oh, this is not a good stone, or no, I can give you a better. And he was just, you could see there was a lot of ego, and there was a lot of this just pushing energy of, no, you should buy this, and that's not good. And in my heart, immediately I took a huge dislike towards this man, and a lot of anger and a little hatred was building deep in my heart, especially because he was like, how dare he act like this with my Swami Kriyananda. And when we left that shop, Swami himself said, oh, that man had a lot of ego, and so I was feeling even more like, well, Swami felt it too, so it's justified. But the next time when we came back to the hotel, Swami said, oh, let's go see that man again. I was like, what? So we went to the shop. Swami again sat down, started talking to him, and this man again, oh, buy this, buy that. And to our astonishment, Swami started buying things. And in my heart, that little ball of, whatever anger and all started growing. And I was like, what's wrong? I mean, why is Swami giving this man so much attention, and he's buying all these things? And anyway, so this happened twice more. Every time we went to the hotel, Swami would want to buy more, and each time he was buying more expensive things. Of course, he never used any of those things. He always, gave it away to his friends. But finally, the last day, as Swami was signing his, the little credit card slip, and Swami had a beautiful Swarovski crystal pen that somebody had given him. And that man suddenly saw this pen and he said, Swamiji, give me that pen. And Swami just looked at the pen and said, you just handed it over to him immediately, no thought, no nothing. And in my heart, I was like, any devotee would love to have that pen, and we would place it in our altar. And now this man's taken this pen and he wouldn't even appreciate what he's gotten. Swami carried that pen for many months in his jacket pocket just next to his heart. And so in my mind, it was all like, that's not right, and this. And then as we were leaving the shop, Swami just casually said, we must give up everything, and especially if someone asks for it. And just at that moment, I really realized that Swami saw this man as a soul. He knew what this man needed, and he was addressing that aspect. In my heart, all this build-up of anger was really hurting me. And more than anything, I realized that as this anger built up in me, the more Swami's love and positive energy was going towards that man. And I saw somewhere that in creating a negative field, Swami was trying to create a stronger positive magnetic field, so that not only would it, my negative thoughts wouldn't hurt that man, but it wouldn't hurt me. And when I just understood that Swami is dealing with this man in the way Swami knows he should deal, I just relaxed and I was able to just let go of these feelings. And we went to that hotel 4 more times after that. And every time we went to that hotel, Swami said, let's go see that man. And I would go, and the shop was always closed. I didn't need any more to have those interactions. And that's a beautiful way Swami always taught everyone. He was never there to give any personal instruction. He was never there to say, this is right, do this. I mean, of course, he always gave them in the forms of the teachings, but he never took anybody aside and says, listen, I know what you need, and what you need is more positive energy and not to have hatred. He just allowed us to go through our process. And in that attunement that we're talking about, figure it out. It's our job. It's not his job to figure it out for us, but it's our job to always be listening. It's our job to always analyze and say, why am I feeling this? Why is he not feeling it? Or why is any saint not feeling what I feel? Why are they able to do this? And try to work within ourselves. And that's how Swami taught each and every one. Dharmarajan and Dharmini, Jyotish and Devi, any leader, especially now that he has, before he left, he really put key people in places, so he knew that once I'm there, everything will be able to, he would be able to keep in place. And when he came to Chennai, the moment he came to Chennai, Swami was like, we need a center here. Normally our process for starting a center is, we'll go to a place, we'll do lots of classes, we'll see what the people want, we'll see what kind of people we have. But the moment Swami came, before he even gave his talk, he said, we need a center here. And he says, we need Dharmarajan and Dharmini here. So he immediately wrote them an email. So that's how Swami worked. He knew where people want, but he wasn't just, and he didn't say, come here now. He says, what do you think about Chennai? What do you think about moving back to India? Just very slightly, never saying I am the, I know what you want because I am in tune with Master. No, just very, very sweetly, just dropping us a little hint. What do you think? Just like Swami, like we have to give up everything. As Swami just very lightly said, not that, listen Shurjo, we have to give up everything. Just no, we have to give up everything. Especially if somebody asks for it. Always just allowing us to take our time, to just work it in ourselves. Another beautiful story, and I'm sorry these stories are a little personal, but they really are great teachings for all of us. In Italy, I haven't worn a watch for a long time. And in Italy, I started wearing a watch, maybe a month or so before Swami left his body. And Swami has done this to others as well. But the moment I had started wearing the watch, Swami would just invariably say, Shurjo, what's the time? And so, Swami, it's 10:15. He said, how many seconds? And I'd say, 25 seconds. And he says, my watch has 15 seconds. So he says, now change your watch. So I just start changing my watch and making sure it's 15 seconds. And then 2 days later again, Shurjo, what's the time? And Swami, so-and-so seconds. And he says, no, you're still few seconds off, change your time. And day after day, every other day, he would ask me, he would ask Narayani, whoever, the spiritual directors of Assisi. And initially I thought, wow, Swami's, wants us to be punctual and make sure that all of our time is matching. So if he says, come to tea at 4 o'clock, we're all on time at 4 o'clock. But more and more I realized what Swami was saying is, Shurjo, are you in tune? And I said, oh no, Swami, I'm just 15 seconds off, no big deal. Swami says, no, change the time, change your attunement. We all think that, we just have a few thoughts which aren't in tune. That's all right as long as my majority is in tune. But that's not enough. We have to take every thought, every desire, every action and see how we can bring it in tune with that goal that we're all moving towards. And it has nothing to be in tune with Swami Kriyananda. It has nothing to be in tune with Yogananda. It has everything to be in tune with our highest potential, which they represent. Because they have gone through each of these stages we are going through right now. They have gone through the same issues, that same hatred in the heart, that same likes and dislikes. And so they have that deep compassion for us. And they understand our predicament. And so they just want to give us these slight nudges and say, are you in tune? And we just have to change our watch every now and then. Even if it's 2 seconds, we have to make that effort to change our watches. And I just want to end with, Swami's last words. Of course, his last word, as I said, was anything. But his last words in public, which were at his Easter talk in Assisi. He gave a satsang for Easter. And the last words as he finished his talk and he was leaving were, I must go now, but you all continue. And of course at that moment, as again, nobody made much of those. But now that we see what he said, I must go now, but you all continue. And what are we continuing? We're continuing this mission that Yogananda, that Swamiji brought into our lives. We're continuing not only the goal for our own self-realization, but to help everyone. We're continuing the mission of community. And right here, we have our own community. You don't have to have a piece of land. You don't have to be living together all the time necessarily. That's a wonderful next step where you can all move towards. But right here, right now, you're all together, supporting each other, loving each other. To be in tune with any one of them is not to have intuitive powers or miraculous, any healing powers. It's really to be loving, to be kind, to be truthful, to always be even-minded and cheerful. They're very simple little things, but they just require a constant readjusting of our watches. And I hope you all continue Swamiji's master and really just your own true missions and keep helping each other.